Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up.
Happy Wednesday. Oh, wow. Look, Chandler and Lou look like they're sponsored the same way. That's so cool. Charania, of course, Stadium Insider. Feeling better, everyone across the board? Minus Lou. Everyone's a little bit better? Yay?
A little bit better.
Chandler? Okay, you sound a little bit better. Guys, hopefully you were watching some basketball last night. And even if you weren't, I have a sneaky feeling that you saw this highlight right here. It's everywhere. Final seconds of Mavs Cavs. Looks like Dallas might have this one all wrapped up, but not so fast, my friends. Things get kind of crazy at the end. You had Mitchell 31-7-6. Luka, who normally we would probably talk about, and we will, ended that game crazy. But Max Strus, have you ever, Chandler?
Have I what?
Seen anything like this? Or, I mean, I know you have.
You know what's crazy? In college, I actually had a buzzer beater like this from really far. And I feel like when this is happening, you're just trying to get it off, right? No, and not in a million years do you think you're going to make this. This dude, I mean, it looks like his normal jumper. It's crazy how this was just his normal three. And this was clutch, and they didn't panic. He didn't throw a home run inbound pass. He threw it to Mobley, got it right back. Dallas kind of messed this up. I feel like Dallas should have had somebody at the end of that court there just so they couldn't do something like this. They couldn't roll the ball in bounds. But you know what? They gave him an opportunity, and he made an absolute unbelievable shot. I think I saw this is the second longest buzzer beater, I think, ever, besides Deontay Graham or something. So, I mean, shout out to Max Strus. This is just a huge, I can't even say clutch. It's a pretty lucky shot, but it's unbelievable.
I mean, Lou, what was your reaction when you saw this one? I love it.
It was a great shot. It looked like something they practiced. You know, I know Chandler said it looked like somebody messed this up, but you know, with a second left, pick him up at half court and live with the results. And it just so happened that he cashed it out for the game. And so it's unfortunate break for Dallas, but this is a very entertaining basketball game.
And in fairness, Strus at that point was 5 for 5 from 3 in that final quarter. So he was feeling himself a little bit. Shams, the Mavs should have had this one, I guess you could say. So what's your biggest takeaway from the way things happened out for the Dallas Mavericks?
Michelle, just a crushing loss. To me, the Mavericks are a team that they probably need to get out of the play-in position and get somewhere in that 5-6 range and go in order to go and make some noise in the playoffs and upset a team. Because getting in the play-in with this team, there's just too many threats in the play-in tournament. There's too many threats once you get out of the play-in tournament. If you get out of the play-in tournament, we know how great Luka Doncic is and Kyrie Irving, but to get the efforts around the board, that's why you go get PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford. And last night, before that Strus jumper, Luka Doncic has that pass to PJ Washington for what looked like the go-ahead layup. And the Mavericks really believe that PJ Washington pickup is going to pay dividends. It's going to be a big pickup. They compare him to Aaron Gordon, what Aaron Gordon means to Denver, someone that can play multiple positions, guard multiple positions, versatile, offensively can impact the game. And they pursued a few guys at the trade deadline. Bobby Portis, Kyle Kuzma was another major target. And then they go get PJ Washington. They really discussed similar concepts. Grant Williams in a first-round pick for either Bobby Portis or PJ Washington. They go and get him. So longer term, I'm curious to see how that pickup works out and how the rest of the season goes. But to me, they got to get out of the play-in spot.
Yeah, I would think, look, again, 9 times out of 10, we're talking Luka after this kind of a game. But Max Strus decided to ruin that part of the rundown. But Luka did have the 45, and he and Kyrie together had 75 points. I want to make sure I word this correctly, Lou. Best duo in the NBA right now.
No, not for me. Even though Luka is the leading scorer of the league, I don't know the exact average. I know he's number one, but for me, consistently, it's gonna be Tatum and Brown, right? You know, those are the only two teammates that are in the top 30 in the scoring. You know, even though they're way down on the list, they're the only two that's there. And so, for the Boston Celtics to be in the position that they're in, for them to have the success that they've had, it's come down. Yeah, it's come down to those two guys scoring that basketball consistently. I haven't seen this consistently enough from them, and Kyrie has been in and out with injuries, this and that, and sometimes playing with Luka, he turns into kind of a facilitator and waits his turns and takes the opportunities that he gets to score the basketball. But last night was a great sample size for them for things to come. For them to be successful, they're going to both have to score the ball. So am I saying the best? I still got to go with Tatum and Brown because they do it at night in and night out.
Are we agreeing with that, Chandler? Do you have a different placement for them?
I think we're talking best scoring duo. They got to be up there. I think Lou's talking about best overall duo because then you got to give it to Tatum and Brown, who are, the most versatile, best team in the NBA. It's hard to look away from Tatum and Brown. When you talk about scoring, yeah, they got to be up there. And it's just the way they play. They can score the ball every which way. They're exciting to watch. They shoot it from deep. But there's so many good scoring duos now with, Giannis and Dame and PG and Kawhi and Booker and KD. When you talk about scoring duos, it's crazy because there's some elite, talented offensive players in this league, but they're definitely up there. And this game, you're right. Without this Hail Mary, we're talking about, Luka having 45 and 14 and them combining for 75 points. And do they have enough to compete and survive and advance in the playoffs? And instead, it's crazy. One shot will take us elsewhere. But when you talk about a talent, offensive duo, I think they're top three for sure.
I just love the ending. And the fact that they got to do that at home was kind of perfect. But despite all of that, Cleveland right now is sitting strong in that 2 seed, but they happen to also still be 7 games back of the Celtics. I mean, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter if you don't get out of the East, Chandler. So does this Cavs team, as you're watching them, have enough to beat Boston?
It's hard to say they have enough to beat Boston. Boston's so complete. They've been so good all year long. They've been consistent. They're poised. They play defense. The addition, they're too solid. You know what I mean? Now, when you look at the next kind of tier, when we start looking at the Milwaukees, the Miamis, the Knicks, I think the Cavs are right there. And I think they can kind of get to that Eastern Conference Finals taking the experience that they learned last year in the playoffs, a year of those younger guys better, the additions of Max Strus and guys like that. I do think they're extremely talented. I think they're well coached. I think the murmurs of Donovan Mitchell not being happy, those have quieted because they've been winning. I still think there's some issues there long term. I don't know how much longer Donovan Mitchell or JB Bickerstaff will end up being there. But as of now, it's hard. It's hard to complain. Why else would you want to go anywhere else when you're 30-19, second in the East, and there's honestly one team that's drastically better than you. So they're in a really good spot. They're young, but they also have guys in their prime. They have a young coach. So they're in a really, really good situation.
Is Lou dancing? Is that dancing, Lou? What is you doing? Do you agree?
I'm delirious at this point. I took my kids to school. I've been recording. I'm trying to find some mojo over here while I was off camera.
You just gotta get to the nap.
Somebody's being funny and put me back on camera.
That was like perfect timing. You gotta get to the nap part of your day and then you're good to go. By the way, do you have any,
Exactly.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, do you have any hope that Cleveland could beat Boston in a series? That's just really the simple question.
Yeah, it's not even about Cleveland to me. I think Boston has just done a great job, even though I'm wearing a Boston green today. Boston has done a great job of just separating themselves from the pack. They look strong. They look complete. They look like they're ready to go, well-oiled machine. And so I think it's going to be hard for any of these teams to compete with them unless Milwaukee gets their thing together. They start to find some chemistry. I think they obviously have the names and the star power to be a problem for the Boston Celtics. Cleveland looks like they have that chemistry that you want going down the stretch, and they've caught up and put themselves in a position to be in second. But Boston has taken off, and so I think this is bigger than Cleveland. I don't see anybody really competing with them.
It is crazy because looking at the West, I have no idea who's gonna win the West, right? When you look at the East, there's just one obvious pick. So barring an injury or some absolute meltdown, it's the Celtics to lose.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. If they don't win, something bad happened is what probably people are expecting at this point. And speaking of, they did play last night. Easy peasy for Boston, 117-99 win over Philly. All of the Celtics starters finished with at least plus 18 or higher, and they had a combined plus 27. If you're into stats like that, Tatum, 29, 11, and 8, Brown, 31 and 6, and Maxey again, sort of forced to do it all at this point, 32 and 5. They, as we've been talking, they're running away with the Eastern Conference. But if you just take the NBA as a whole, is there a team that you would say is more whole, WHOLE, than the Boston Celtics, Chandler?
No, I think they're the best team in the NBA. I think there's some other very good teams. I love the Nuggets. I love the Clippers. I think the Clippers, the Celtics is what we've been talking about all year long, how that is their issue. But their starting five has been so productive. You don't even really have to look much further than that. They've been somewhat healthy, and they have been getting some good stuff from Pritchard and Hauser and Al Horford. So, and they weren't one of those teams that made a big move at the deadline because they're confident that they have enough. They're built to win now. They have arguably the best duo in the NBA that plays both sides of the floor. And the addition of Drew Holiday, I think, on paper, Damian Lillard, all-star, perennial scorer, I think people thought that would benefit the Bucks more. And it didn't. It didn't, because Drew Holiday does so much more. He defends. He's a leader. He also can score. He's just an unbelievable complete player, and he adds a whole other dynamic to this team that they didn't have, especially when they lost Marcus Smart. They needed someone like Drew Holiday, and he's the perfect fit for them. So when you look at this starting lineup, they don't even need to have a deep team because their starting lineup is that good.
There it is, starting lineup, Lou. Anyone better?
Right now or ever?
Yeah, right now. I mean, we could do ever, but that could be a long conversation.
Well, the question I'm looking at it said who was the last team, so that's all I was saying. But no, I think this is them. Obviously, you got to put the Clippers in there. On paper, the Clippers look like a very strong starting five. When healthy, you would like the Phoenix Suns, but right now they're playing like the most complete, best starting five there is.
I mean, first in offensive rating, second in defensive rating. This is just setting up to be a massive upset if the Celtics do not win this entire thing. That is what this feels like right now, because we're talking about them so positively. And on the Sixers side of thing, obviously they're just sort of waiting on any and all Joel Embiid news. Shams, do you have any for possible return?
We reported on it when he had surgery February 6th. This is a 6 to 8 week injury timetable for Joel Embiid, at that moment. And still the hope and the optimism and the expectation is somewhere in late March, early April. That's when the window starts for Joel Embiid potentially to make a return. It really all depends on how his rehab goes, where the team is in the standings. They're about a half game out from the play-in tournament. So they're teetering right now between being in the playoffs, being a team that has to fight in the play-in tournament. So you have to look from a team perspective. If you are in the play-in tournament and Joel Embiid's right, do you bring him back into the fold? Where's he at? The one thing I know about Joel Embiid, I know Chandler, you know him well. Lou, you know him as a competitor as well. He knows his body. He's a smart player. He's been through these injury battles over and over and over. There's no one that knows his body better than he does. And so I think he's going to rehab. I think he's going to attack it the best he can. And at the end of the day, he's going to be the one that really knows, am I right enough to come back into the season? Because you're going to be missing about 2 months, whenever you do make your return. Is it worth it? Is your rehab really going that smooth?
To have to hold on to get there just for Joel Embiid to come in after being out for 2 months, Lou, I don't know. Predict the future for me here with this Sixers team. What are they capable of doing?
If they're smart, I think they start fresh next year. This is going to be an uphill battle, and you're putting a lot of pressure on Joel Embiid. You're talking about somebody who's going to be out, 60-plus days, going to come back 9 times out of 10. He's probably going to be on minutes restriction. He's going to have some limits on what he can be able to do for this team. So to try to survive and wait it out for him to get back and still try to compete for a championship, that's going to be tough. When we talk about a strain on a guy's body, you're talking about putting a strain on him mentally as well and trying to put all of this pressure on him. And so if I'm the Sixers, I allow him to get 100% healthy, get back, and you start over, you start fresh next year. I know that window is closing. You hate starting over, but, he's had a history of injuries. He's had his issues, and rightfully so. I think this team should do right for him just by his health, But if he's healthy and he can play, you throw him out there. I don't know what you really get out of that. Going into the playoffs and trying to get that chemistry back that you've been building all year. But I would much rather see Joel Embiid 100% healthy than rush back for the playoffs.
Yeah, here's the thing. The good news for them is they're 7 games from falling out of the play-in. So I think the beauty of the play-in is it could only be 1 game, maybe 2 games if they don't win that first one. So knowing Joel, he's working his ass off, and if he's ready to play, I think you play, because you look at, like we just said, the Eastern Conference, the Celtics are the only team I'm afraid of, or I'm scared of. And so if I can happen to win that play-in game, 1 game, even with Joel in a 20, 25-minute restriction, and then I get a 7th seed and I'm looking at Cleveland in the first round, now we're talking about surviving. Now we're talking about, can we advance? And so I think, listen, obviously it's scary because his size and his injury history with everything that he's went through, you definitely aren't going to rush him. But if he's close to 100% to play, and the way this team's built right now with the rise of Maxey and Tobias Harris, Kelly Oubre, all these older guys, they were also built to win this year. And obviously Joel Embiid had a huge impact on that. But the play-in, it's not like it's this long, grueling series. It's 1 game maybe. So if he can play. You have 6 months in the offseason, obviously, to rest and to strengthen your injuries and to fully heal. So when you look at the landscape of the Eastern Conference, if I can get in there and not face the Celtics in the first round, I'm doing everything I can if I'm Joel to get on that court.
I just hear fans of all the other teams just perking up their ears, hating right now on Chandler Parsons, especially the Cavs, since you named them. All right, we got some scoops from Shams. We got a lot of scoops from Shams right now. Drew Holiday, we talked a little bit about him, but we got an update that's not necessarily Celtics related. Shams, what's going on?
USA Basketball has been pursuing Drew Holiday for most of this NBA season to play in the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris. And I'm told Holiday has delivered his commitment to USA in recent weeks, and he's expected to be among the 12-man roster for the Olympics in Paris coming up, barring anything unforeseen, any injury. They really value his two-way ability. We know about his point of attack defense, his playmaking that he brings, his dynamic ability to be a scorer, three-point shooter, passer. We saw it last night on display for the Celtics. And in 2021, when this Team USA squad won the gold medal behind Kevin Durant's stardom, Drew Holiday was arguably the second best player on that team, the second most important player on that team. So when you look at this upcoming roster for the Olympics, you consider the locks, along with Drew Holiday, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum. I expect Devin Booker, Bam Adebayo, those guys potentially, Anthony Davis, to be among the other names as well. But, Devin Booker, I think that's a guy that you would look at to be in that category as well. But Drew Holiday and his commitment, he's expected to be a part of this team.
Hoops in Paris. Oh, that's his wife's old jersey, isn't it? Hoops in Paris. Sign me up. Sounds like a plan. Shams, we also
that
have
is
some
something important to know.
That is his wife, right?
Lauren Holiday.
Yeah.
Lauren Holiday, his wife, 2-time Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah.
By the way, that just shows you his value right there, because All NBA, All Star, you're picked on a 12-man Olympic USA team, and they're made a priority to get you. That just shows you how important Drew Holiday is. And he's not I wouldn't say he's a superstar. I wouldn't say he's, a fan favorite. The guy can do so much and impact the games that Grant Hill's like, no. I'm going to get him before Devin Booker. I'm going to get him before all these other players. So that's dope, because that's flattering.
You can't not be an Olympic star in that household. There has to be some trash talking that's going to go down. So yes, I am.
He's not even the best Olympian in his house.
He's really
That's so
not.
dope.
Crazy.
And I love that for everyone involved. Some WNBA news. We have Breanna Stewart, of course, the MVP, signing an extension with the Liberty. I hate the part where she took less than max, Shams, because we already know their salaries. But what does that say about everything that's going on here in New York?
Yeah, I had to get in the WNBA game a little bit. Breanna Stewart re-signed with the New York Liberty the other day, and it was a 1-year deal. It's a below maximum contract, below the maximum salary of $208,000. But the interesting wrinkle here, it's a non-guaranteed deal because of the hard cap and the restraints on the WNBA salary cap. In order to keep, this is a team that obviously has won at a high level. Sabrina Ionescu also on this team. In order to keep their starting five together, they made to the finals this past year in 2023. She had to take this non-guaranteed deal. A couple other players on this team also have non-guaranteed, or what they call in the WNBA, unprotected deals, in order to allow the Liberty to keep this team together and have flexibility. I mean, I'm curious, Chandler, Lou, they both played in the NBA. When you look at your counterparts of the WNBA, for this to even be a thing, obviously I think it got a lot of people's attention.
Yeah, I mean, you see guys taking, a little bit less to try and form a team. And I think this shows a lot about Breonna Stewart, how, she wants to win. And that's a priority, even with a much, much, much smaller salary than the guys have. $208,000, I think you just said, max contract. So the fact that she deserves, obviously, all of that and more, she's still willing to take less to keep her squad together. Kudos. That's great for her. You see guys in the NBA do this all the time, but the pay difference is slightly different. So this kind of just shows you about her character and how much she's willing to give up to stay in New York and to stay on the Liberty and to compete for a championship.
I don't know,
Take
Lou.
the money, Stewie. Take the money. It's gonna be hard to beat the Aces.
It's New York City. You got a family, but I will say this: being in the building when they lost last season, at the end of that, it was a sore, bad taste in everyone's mouth. So I could see that. But don't be giving that money back, women. There's a difference between taking $300 million and $280 and $208,000 and the max of that. Come on, you take all the money you can while you can. That's just my little piece of advice. Oh, we're taking a break right now. Oh, how dare you? But I am for good reason. When we come back, we will be joined by Channing Frye as he joins Run It Back. See you in a bit.
Run it up, run it back, yeah. Run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up.
All I do is win. Every time that I begin, they gon' see it when I come. Channing Frye drills a Channing Frye. You looking at a champ.
Oh, it's a good final image right there. 14-year vet, and he's a champ, and he's up early. Channing Frye joins the show right now. First of all, good morning. We just learned you're on the West
Where'd y'all
Coast.
find the video of me dunking? Holy crap.
How good is that?
Must have been early. Must have been early in the career. That ain't it.
We'll send it to you, so make sure you have it. You know what, with Channing, yesterday we barely got to get into it, and it was a kind of a heated topic. It's a heated topic in the country. I know it's Wednesday, but now that we've got grown-ups talking about banning court storming, I feel like this could go on forever. So one, we could arrest them. I submitted electric fencing. No one likes that.
What?
Just for fun. Have you been on a court that was stormed?
Yes. Just
And?
don't lose. Don't lose. Who cares? What are you talking about?
Thank
Arrest
you.
these kids. Stop
Thank
it. Stop it. Just stop it. Right? And I said this, we talked about this yesterday. There's only one guy ever in the history of maybe college sports that I'd really be worried about his health. That's JJ Redick, right? I'd be worried if somebody stormed a court, somebody would punch him in his face. He was hated that much. Everyone else, just put your hands up and walk off the court. Why are you trying to run where drunk kids are running? It happens. It's part of college sports. It's not that serious. And it seems like only the coaches that lose make a big deal about it. So stop losing. Stop losing to unranked teams. Coach better. And maybe nobody's going to storm the court. That's the stupidest rule I've ever heard in my life.
See, Channing,
Chandler?
I said, aren't you opening up the floodgates though? Where else in the world can 30, 40, 100 kids run up on you and you not have to defend yourself or do something? Isn't it open up the floodgates though for issues?
No, I've got the court stormed on me 3 times, and honestly, I just put my hands up. Right, we lost to I think Oregon State. We lost to in my 4 years, Oregon State, Washington State, and maybe Stanford at the buzzer. And you see me just walk off my hands up, and security runs to me. Nobody bothers me. But if you're gonna run off while they're running on, you're gonna get hit.
It's physics.
It's physics. They don't know their equilibrium is off. So listen, if you were to just stand still, somebody Caitlin Clark, I'm pretty sure Caitlin Clark, the generator of millions of dollars, security is going to come get you first. Security is going to come get you first if you just put your hands up and just hey, I'm just trying to get off. Somebody's going to come find you. It's not that big a deal.
Those poor walk-ons are just going to get pummeled.
Hey, listen, look. No offense, you there for the grades anyway. So come on. You get all the gear and you're there for the grades. Come on, let's keep it a buck.
Poor Chandler. He's the only one. The only one fighting it.
I just hate that it's Duke because I just disagree with everything about Duke. But I don't know.
Nobody likes Duke.
Nobody likes
Duke. If it was anybody else,
one.
I'd probably make an exception, but it's Duke. It's elbow them up. They're fine.
Channing, Klay Thompson, he's continuing to come off the bench, and you've been on this early. You've been saying they should, do this since November. What made you feel that way so early on?
I think you saw him early pressing, and even the year that they won, Wiggins and Klay, they are such good teammates and such good team guys that they're always like, well, if I don't play good, he'll do it, or if I don't play good, Klay will do it. To me, you got to put the pressure on one of them to come out and play good basketball, and then also for me, Klay right now, coming off of all his injuries, I'd like to showcase him, bring some of that firepower off the bench. Klay is a top 75 player of all time. I don't care what about that list, or whether he made it or not, but Klay is that good. And I think if you bring him off the bench with a guy like Chris Paul, you can keep that rhythm going that you need. So you're going to introduce the young guys like Kuminga and the rest of them to allow them to put them in good situations to win games. To me, playing Klay, Steph, Draymond, Kuminga, everybody in the first lineup, you're not getting any firepower off the bench. When they win, they have a great bench. Think about Sean Livingston. Think about, Andre Iguodala. Think about those kind of guys coming off the bench. Now you have Klay Thompson coming off the bench. It's no wonder that they're doing great. He's going to play his 34 minutes anyways.
So with all that being said, the struggles, the up and downs, is this the last year Klay Thompson's on the Warriors? Does he go and start somewhere else, or does he go back there?
Man, listen, we're talking about Breonna Stewart. Take that change now. Look, I know a lot of teams that go pay him crazy. I think it's up to him. Let me go with my gut here. I do think it is. I do think this is his last year. I think there's a team that is going to pay him crazy just to not be on the Warriors anymore. Obviously the Warriors got to make decisions. I think they're going to go younger now. I think this is kind of their last full run. If Klay doesn't have a crazy playoff run, I can see somebody else saying, hey, we'll start you. You got 35, 40 minutes a night on a good playoff team. I could see somebody throwing some money at him.
Man, just my brain explodes.
It's just the truth, because whether they think they're going to win, they're going to say, well, do you have 20 million for Klay Thompson or 30 million or, Joe Schmo? He going to put people in the stands. You had Klay Thompson to Dallas. You had Klay Thompson to the Lakers. You had Klay Thompson to Sacramento. You had Klay Thompson to anybody. You're like, all right, well, we got a chance. Like, we're going to be a playoff team. I mean, he's just that
weird.
good.
It's weird picturing him in another jersey. It's weird picturing him like an Orlando Magic.
It is, yeah. It's like D-Wade going to Chicago. You're like, yeah, I get it, but that ain't it. That ain't it.
It's gonna be weird, and it's gonna take a while for us. I guess Dame in a Bucks jersey was a little bit weird as well, and that's a great segue because they've won 3 straight now. And we all know for the beginning of this Doc Rivers experiment, it felt like but for what we all do for a living, it was fantastic. What is your opinion? Not just on what they've been able to do, and it looks like they're figuring things out, but kind of Doc's entrance as the Bucks coach and all the talking that he was doing.
Man, where do I? So I know a bunch of Clippers guys. Obviously, I think Doc has had success in this league on different teams. I think this is an interesting situation for him to come in. I think no matter who you could have Phil Jackson on this team. I don't know if I put the Bucks above, and this is a hot take, I don't know if I put them above a healthy Philly or Boston. Regardless, I just don't think they're built that way. I think I'm a little disappointed that they're always going to be good because you have Giannis, you have Dame, you have Brook, you have good pieces, but they haven't evolved for me, right? They haven't adjusted to the times. I feel like they are very, very good during a regular season. I'm curious to see what happens if they get an unfavorable matchup, how they make adjustments, which is, I think, their biggest problem. I don't think they're an adjustment team. I think they're just do we do harder. And that's what I worry about. But you have Giannis, and, if he can be healthy, he's a monster in the playoffs, controlling the pace of the game. But I think Doc Rivers is just there to make Dame and Giannis work as best as they can. So I don't think it's about X's and O's. I think it's about superstar management. So he did a pretty crappy job at the beginning. He won 3 in a row. I think a pretty big win against Minnesota. That was kind of impressive for me. But it'll be interesting to see what happens during the playoffs, because teams are going to say, during the regular season, you ain't hacking Giannis like that. During the playoffs, teams are now stacked. Think about the Knicks. They got 4 or 5 dudes that are 6'9", physical, that can just guard him, right? And Dame, he's playing amazing. I think he has the most fourth quarter points in the league right now. So for me, it's like, I don't really see them both play great at the same time together. It's kind of weird. It's almost like Luka and Kyrie. They could play well together, just not like it's not like Penny and Shaq. It's not like Kobe and Shaq. It doesn't. It makes sense, but it just doesn't look. It looks weird. Yeah.
But here's my thing. As much as we talk about the inconsistencies of the Bucks, right? They're still sitting in third, and they're looking at If it was today, we're looking at a unhealthy Philly. We're looking at an Orlando Magic team. I still like them getting out of the first round and then playing somebody else in the second. I still feel really, really good about the Milwaukee Bucks with the circumstances.
Totally. I mean, if they play those two teams in the first round, I think that's a quick 50-piece nugget. That's 4 and done. I just don't think Orlando shoots well enough, and their first-year guys. I love Orlando. I think they need a true point guard and some shooting, and then I think they're going to be top 5 in the East. But to me, that's the issue. Is like, what are our expectations for Milwaukee? You have Giannis and Dame, so you're like happy that you beat up on a hurt Philly or a young Orlando? No, we need to see them in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, that's the expectation when you have players like this, when you have 2 players that are probably top 15 in the league right now. And that's a lot of pressure, but it's also what you get. I mean, you have an older team. You've stopped developing your young guys. You've really bought into like, this is our time, which you should. And so for me, okay, you got out the first round. Congrats. Here's your cookie. Now who you got to play? What happens in the Eastern Conference Finals? Are you going there? Those are my expectations for them. But,
so I feel like I know your answer then. What's more likely for this particular Bucks team? A first round exit or going to the finals and winning?
Man. I don't think they win. I'll be honest, they not beating Boston.
All right, fair enough.
I just don't think so. Boston is too complete, and their bench, their system, their defensive versatility, their range of shooting, superstar power. Okay, let's say Giannis and Tatum, okay? And then you have Jaylen Brown and Dame. So those 4 just go out the window. Boston has everything else.
Yeah.
Or Porzingis, Drew Holiday, boom, boom, boom. You're killing. Your 2 superstars need to win you 2 games, your coach and your bench. That's 4 games in the playoffs.
This one's easy. They happen to get the Miami Heat or something in the first round. They could very well lose in the first round of the playoffs to the Miami Heat, how well they're playing the New York Knicks.
Yeah, if they got Miami, New York, they don't want that. They don't want them problems. They want Orlando, a beat-up Philly. They want something to kind of warm up and understand. They don't want Miami, because listen, like, no matter who's on Miami's team, they're going to get grandma and grandpa out there, and next thing you know, they're going to average 12 and 5, make good basketball plays. Like, what are y'all doing at practice that no one else is? Oh, they're probably practicing. They're probably practicing. That's it.
Man,
it's crazy.
Y'all got a lot of hot takes today, I ain't gonna lie.
What are you talking about, Lou? These are good takes.
Because that's your team. You like that because that's your team. More so than the Doc thing.
You don't think Miami can beat Milwaukee in a 4 game in a series, the first round of the playoffs?
Hell yeah.
You never count Milwaukee out how they're built. They're a system team, so they can plug in and plug guys in and out. But they've been just as inconsistent as Milwaukee has this year. Right. And Milwaukee's been able to survive it and stay in the 3rd place. So that's the only thing that's different for me. But I want to stay on the Bucks really quick, because we always make a big fuss about Doc. But Giannis recently said he doesn't watch a lot of film, doesn't watch a lot of basketball. And I thought he said it in jest, kind of trying to get people going. He said he likes to be surprised going in games to see what guys do. What was your take on that?
Well, you know what my take was on that. One, if that was funny, if he thought that was a joke, that's not funny. I just don't think that's funny.
Right.
As a leader, you have to be the most prepared. I played on teams with guys like Brandon Roy, Steve Nash, LeBron, even guys, way back, Stephon Marbury. All they did was watch film, and it wasn't a joke. It was like they get in a car, they'd have a driver just so they can continue to watch film. So for me, it was like he probably does watch film, but like that's not really funny. I didn't think that was funny. I think your team has been pretty inconsistent this year. I think for you as a leader, obviously you want to portray that I'm doing everything possible to help my team win these games. So yes, they're on a 3-game win streak, but I think it just depends on what happens this year. If they don't win the big thing, then people are going to come back to that unfunny joke of, oh, haha, I don't watch film. So
Timing.
it wasn't my favorite quote.
It was bad timing too. Like you guys are losing. You just got fired a coach. Like it was rough. And you're right. It wasn't funny.
Yeah, he's had 4 coaches in 9 months.
Yeah,
so it's like,
it's just
and you don't,
awkward.
oh, and I don't watch film. It's probably like, yeah, you probably should have kept that one to yourself. Put that one back in the pocket.
Read the room. Read the room, sir. Can we talk a little Lakers for a second? Because I know
Please.
you've talked about the title window being officially closed. I believe it was 0 chance at winning the championship. Are you still there? Has it moved at all?
With the Lakers?
Yeah.
No, that's a 0. That's a 0. That's a 0. That is a 0. Good try. Hey, I love you guys. Put it this way. If we stop right now, who they playing in the play-in? The Warriors? That's a 50-50 chance right there.
That's tough.
And then you got to go against a young Minnesota
Sacramento or Dallas. Yeah.
Or Dallas, who's cooking right now. Stop it. Bron, listen, that's my guy. I love you. If I saw him, I'd tell him the same thing. Hey, you had a great year, big guy. That's crazy. You're 39. I sweat going up the stairs. I need a breath. You out here averaging 25. But it ain't
Impressive.
it. They just don't, there's no way no one could say, now if they win, I will come back on this show and said, you know what, I retire from media because I don't know what I'm talking about. But they got to climb Mount Everest. They got to climb Mount Everest. He knows at the top of that? Jokic. And there's nobody in the Western Conference, maybe other than, I'll say the Clippers.
Yeah.
Because Kawhi's balling. He's the best, most untalked player in the league right now.
Yeah.
Barbecuing the whole league with no words. It's crazy. No TV, no words, just cooking everybody. But no, the Lakers, no, thank you. I'm sorry.
I love the Kawhi part. Okay, so let me ask you this then, because now we're already starting the will he have a farewell tour, won't he? Rumors about LeBron in different cities. Do you see a world in which he leaves LA for one last hurrah and a shot at a title?
Oh, heck no.
Okay.
That would be the dumbest thing he could do. What for what? You're a Laker. You're about to have your number in the rafters with Kobe and Shaq and Kareem. What other place can you do that? You've already done it in LA. You've already done it in Cleveland, right? Now you're in LA. You want to move from your $30 million mansion to where? Oklahoma City? To Dallas? To San Antonio? Stop it. No. He living luscious. He's like this. We're in the 7th spot as he looks at the sun, looking at the Hollywood sign. He's like, well, all right, here we go. Another game. It's just the ease of life is crazy. Yeah, I only played on the Lakers for like a quarter of a season. That's a different experience. Playing in LA is a different experience.
Absolutely.
And I played in New York. If you can be successful there, there's no reason to leave. You know when they get rid of people, people are like, nah, go. I'll waive this. Just let me stay. It hurts going from LA to Orlando, LA to Charlotte, LA to New Orleans. It ain't the same. LA is beautiful.
We got to have Channing on board just so he can keep shitting on cities like I do every single day.
Yeah.
No, crapping on the city, but I'm saying it ain't the same. You know it's not the same. Look, there are certain cities where you got outfits planned at the beginning of the year. Then there are sweatsuit cities. Okay,
Yeah.
You're not leaving a fashion city to go to a sweatsuit city.
I sold my soul. I sold my soul. Went to Memphis for 3 years, bro. Trust me, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Told you so for 90 million.
Don't
Stop
start.
it. You didn't sell nothing.
Don't start,
I would
Chandler.
have went too.
Chandler,
We were
start.
doing good. Leave Memphis
Start,
alone,
start.
Chandler.
Talk about Memphis,
Leave
Chandler.
Memphis alone. We were doing good.
No, listen, look, man, you can have all the ribs you want in Memphis, right? Look, honestly, when you did that, I was like, dang, I didn't know your injuries or whatnot, but I was like, I think they still had part of the grindhouse there. I thought that was a good matchup for you. Obviously, the city's not my favorite, but they got a certain culture there. It worked. It's different than going. It's different than going to Detroit.
It went from a good fit for literally
a great fit. Oh yeah.
All right.
That would have been great.
To grit and grind because the Parsons contract.
yeah. You don't mess that up, buddy. But hey, you living good. I see that fancy painting behind you.
Yeah. He's living the best life of everyone.
That look expensive.
Wait, Channing, so you don't think LeBron waits and goes wherever Bronny gets drafted or wherever he goes?
No.
You think he's staying in LA?
Stop it. And then I said this before, but number one, LeBron is a dad, right? The problem is sometimes I think he forgets that he's a dad, so he's hyping his own kid up. Like for me, I got a 13-year-old boy. Now, if he's like getting ready to go to college, I'm like, man, yeah, Hendricks, I'm going to league him. But then I'm going to realize that, oh, crap, I'm Channing Frye. Like, people are going to pay attention to this, especially if he's not playing the best that he can. So for me, it's like, if Bronny plays in the league, when he does, I think he is a league player. I don't know if he's going this year, next year, whatever. Just the opportunity to play in the league, Bron will be happy. I think he's done it differently than his own, than his dad. I think if Bron can hang around, if he can hang on by a thread, even if he's 42 and Bronny's like, gone to San Antonio or someplace like that, for those two to play and be on the same court, I think that's going to be pretty impactful and pretty awesome for them, both of them.
Yeah. Now, Michelle hates the San Antonio.
I don't want him to go to San Antonio.
I want to throw it back.
I just don't. It's my team. Because then I'm put in a precarious situation, Channing. I'm even wearing a Spurs hat today. Don't do this to me right now.
I mean,
it's very unprofessional.
To me, I think if you're going to get somebody like Bronny, San Antonio's the safest place to put him. Why do you think the NBA put Wemby in San Antonio? It's the safest place to put superstars like that where they can grow into their opportunity. Could you imagine Wemby in Detroit? Yeah. What? Oh. Come on now. That ain't it. They put him with the best coach ever and said, hey, we gonna put you on TV just every so often.
A little bit.
And then there's no pressure to win. Don't worry about it. And you can live in your little bubble in San Antonio.
No state tax.
Yeah, no, I want to bring it. I want to bring it back to 2016 when you get to Cleveland. Oof. You said that they had sticks up their asses.
Yeah,
what did you mean by that, and how did you remove those sticks up their butt?
Well, first of all, I wasn't moving no sticks up no butts. So I got traded from Orlando. We were one of the worst teams in the league. I was with Scott Skiles, who I like and appreciate, but his practices sucked. They were 3 hours. We had to do like closeouts every single day. We had to do layups for 30 minutes, like tedious, boring stuff. And we were still getting drubbed by 30. So one day I told Skiles, I was like, man, Skiles, man, look, I'm 33 at the time, whatever. I said, man, look, you tearing the skin off my ankles doing all these closeouts. You know dang well I don't play defense like this. So we kind of had an understanding I didn't have to do that. So when I got traded to Cleveland, I was like, hold up. We don't got to practice and we're winning? What are y'all talking about? Y'all don't talk to each other? This is ridiculous. So me being me, I put every single player on a text chain and then started, wait up at night till I'm watching the games and then started just texting everybody. And then they were like, Channing, leave us alone. It's late, blah, blah, blah. Then I send funny gifts. Then I send, rude things and things probably like HR would talk to me for. And then honestly, everyone just kind of ganged up at like hating my text threads. And then a month later, everyone started to love them. And so it was like, hey, Kyrie, you have a book reading. Why don't we 3 people go to the book reading, right? Whatever it is, right? He had a sound bowl reading, right? So I went to that. Braun had a shoe release. We're like, hey, let's 3, 4 people, let's go to this. So it just turned out to like actually take time away from your life to go hang out with your teammates. Like they're not that different. We're all cool. Like I think Kevin especially was like, dude, Kevin, you're just chilling in Cleveland by yourself. We're like, you got a big old house, you got all this expensive liquor. We're gonna come over there and throw a party at your house. And so we literally used to throw parties at Kevin's house, right? Because he had the best, obviously the best charcuterie plate, but you know, he had the best liquor too, right? So for me, yeah, we were like, why not hang out? Listen, we're not practicing. We drubbing teams. What are y'all mad for? I just came from Orlando. Come on, man. We got to have some fun while we do this. So we started having fun and it started working. And yeah, like you started to see people start to talk to each other more, hang out more. And obviously it worked out.
Just a text thread, you guys. See, Lou, we want to hang out with you. And you won't respond, and it hurts our feelings.
Lou lives in Atlanta. He's with his people. I know Atlanta people are different.
He won't do anything. All right, so you guys won the championship that year. That, of course, then led to the argument that I'm not a huge fan of if Draymond hadn't been suspended, the Warriors would have won that series. But it is an argument that's been made many times. Why?
It had nothing to do with Draymond. It was Andrew Bogut got hurt was the biggest issue. If you watch the film, Andrew Bogut, the first 2 games, regardless of Steph or anybody else, made the biggest impact on our ability to win. So he was blocking shots at the rim, setting big time screens, rebounding, outletting, like he was doing everything. When he got hurt, you notice we started driving the ball over and over and over again, like relentlessly. And the only time we'd settle for a 3 is if like end of shot clock or you are wide open. But to beat Golden State, you had to play street ball. You could not play, let's just shoot threes with them. You were going to get crushed, right? They can go on a 9-0 run like this. You make a mistake, you know, every game that we lost, we look at the film and they were it was wild how good that team was. You made a mistake, oh, that's 3 points. You made another mistake or a turnover, oh, that's 5 points, 4 points. Like, you're like, dang, I'm down 12 now. How did that happen after 3 possessions? Well, you had turnovers. You didn't, get to the body. You didn't communicate. You didn't know the assignment. Like, Andrew Bogut was the biggest issue for us. When we started driving the hole, he would block everything. So when he got hurt, we were driving to the basket, getting layups, and then getting our defense set so that we could actually have an opportunity to grab and hold so they weren't running around like crazy people. It was, he should get the most credit. It wasn't about Draymond. We were going to win that game regardless. Draymond could have played. You could have put Scottie Pippen out there, Dennis Rodman. We were going to win that game.
Channing, this has been awesome. If you don't know, you probably already do. Road Trippin' is the podcast with that fool Richard Jefferson and Allie Clifton. We appreciate the time so much. We could probably go on for another hour. Yeah, thank you so much, Channing.
Anytime.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back.
My goal, I appreciate that. My goal is Paul George.
Are you? I'm leaving.
Paul George, the best player ever. Kobe, Paul George.
When are you gonna say
Carmelo
your
Anthony.
The fact that you didn't say your dad first is crazy to me.
Obviously to go his levels though. Like he don't even gotta. You just threw the cards at me.
He doesn't have.
He don't even gotta be talked about.
Yeah, it was a good fix at the end. All right, that's obviously Kai and Anthony and Lala. Any issues here? Does your kid have to name you first? Let's start there. Lou, you first.
No, listen, I'm the corniest, lamest person in the world to my daughter when it comes to everything. She thinks I'm a square. She thinks I'm a loser. And everybody else is the coolest person in the world, but she absolutely adores me behind closed doors. And so in public, I get this. That's just dad. That's not Carmelo Anthony to him. That's Pops. That's dad. And so, and a lot of kids like Paul George, man. You're starting to find out that a lot of young hoopers really, really love Paul George. And so, she can't tell him who his GOATs are. He like who he like. I have no issues with this.
It's just funny because it's not like he's saying MJ or LeBron. He's saying Paul George just because that's his personal preference. That's probably who he likes watching growing up. It's probably who he emulates his game after. So, Yeah, I got no problems with it. And I'm like Lou, like my daughter thinks I'm cool right now, but she's only 2 years old. So give her some time. She'll definitely think I'm a big loser.
The honeymoon ends, Chandler. Trust me, the honeymoon ends.
Yeah, Chandler, you've got 2 little ones. Do you already play footage of your golden days so that they can start to understand?
You know what's funny is my daughter Rocket, she watches the show like in the other room or Zoom. So she'll see me on TV, and then we have shown her like highlights of me. So now when I'm watching basketball, she'll just point to a white guy on the TV and go, Dada. So now she thinks any white basketball player is Dada. So that's what we got going on. Yeah.
Same. That does it for today, but we will be back tomorrow. Good news.
Run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up.